In these seats, I'll be engaging my guests on various topics about the cultural war in the immigrant home and how to intervene. My name is Dr. Cynthia Adom Potofi. I will be your host for the show, and you are watching Battleground. We have another exciting and mind-blowing topic, I will put it that way, because it's a topic that you don't talk about, you don't bring up in the immigrant home. And that topic is my opinion doesn't matter, or talking back in the immigrant home. Thank you for joining in. Are you all ready? Are you excited about this chat? Talking back in the immigrant home. It could be African, it could be Asian, it could be any immigrant home. We're going to talk about the concept of talking back. Mm-hmm. Anyone wants to share the experiences?
I would say for me, growing up, and even at some points right now, my mom, she talks at me instead of to me. And I think there's definitely a fine line between talking to me and communicating instead of like just talking at me. But there's definitely is a lack of communication. Of course, we talk about basic things, but there's a lack of communicating on more deeper topics that I would love to talk about. But because of the lack of just communicating and the boundaries that she has created, so I've created those boundaries as well on my part. I think that's what it is. But for the most part, it's her talking at me instead of to me.
So when you say you talk about basic things, what do you mean by that?
Like, how's your day today?
Okay.
What did you do today? But I would have loved if growing up it would be like, how do you feel? What's going on? Like, are you okay? Just more things that could more open-ended conversations instead of just like asking me a simple question. I'd be like, yes or no.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So I think you mentioned something that you feel as if your parents talk at you. And let me put it this way, instead of having a conversation with you, right? So what is communication? It's a two-way street where it's kind of give and take. You tell me something and I express my opinion, and then we figure out what is best. But what I'm hearing from you all is like it's just a bunch of instructions that we hear from our parents. And Eunice, coming to what you mentioned, I think you mentioned you were opinionated, or you still are. Mm-hmm. So do you think you were trying to impose your views on your parents, or it was just more so of expressing yourself?
Yeah, it was definitely more of expressing myself because I wanted to share what was on my mind. And because I trusted them, I wanted to bring that information to them. But like unconsciously, like they created some barriers where like similar to what Dali was saying, like the deeper things, you can't always go to them, which is really unfortunate. And it was only through reading your book, honestly, that I began to realize that, okay, it was because of how they were raised. And in an African type of lifestyle is usually the elder generation, like they give wisdom to the child. And so that's what they know. And so I was just like, that's actually true, because that's how they try and parent me. But I didn't grow up in that system. And it's more of them talking to me than with me. So that's the situation.
Absolutely. Knowledge is indeed powerful. And I'm sure before you read that book, you had a whole lot of grievances. Why are they so mean? I mean, what do they think? Do they think I'm not smart enough for my views to be respected? But I'm sure reading that book opened your eyes. But it didn't necessarily mean you thought what they did was right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's so good. But in this case, as young people, you are being raised in immigrant homes. How does it feel like if you have to accept the fact that you're always wrong? Sometimes our parents, you can tell that they're wrong. Like, And they themselves, I think, as a parent, we know we are wrong. It stares you in the face. There's evidence to prove that you are wrong. But then mommy would not accept it. One time I was talking to this young lady. She was so frustrated. I said, Mommy, you know what? Sometimes I stare my mom in the face and I know she is wrong. But she would never admit it or apologize. And that really annoys me. So I'm like, what do you do? He said, I just yell at her and I leave the room. And I have to just go chill in my room and all that. I get really upset. And she also gets really upset. I'm like, you don't get your way. So let's find different ways and means of resolving it. But coming back to the question, how does it feel like being always seen as the loser? Let me put it that way. Loser in the sense that you feel you have to accept that you are wrong, even though you are not wrong. How does it feel?
I think it's kind of frustrating because going to middle school here, going to high school, and going to college here, it's like you're in a system where you can always express yourself if you have a problem. Like if you have a problem with a teacher or professor, you're able to say, okay, I didn't like the way you did this. I didn't like the way you said this. But like when you go home, it's really like you got to just lower yourself and just accept the fact that you're wrong, even if you're not wrong. So I feel like it gets frustrating, but as we grow up and as time goes by, we get used to it. So it's like we kind of accept it, even though we still have a problem with it.
So I like the way you put it, Rocky. You get used to it. Even though you don't like it, we have to find a way to. What does it mean? Like, I want us to decode it because I don't want us to sweep things under the carpet. What does it do to you? How does it affect you? Because you are in a home that is supposed to nurture you, right? That is where you have to express your fears and uncertainties and your struggles for your parents to listen in and then direct you. So it gets to a point where you find a way of managing the situation without really solving it. What does it do to you? How does it affect you?
I guess I'll answer this one. So personally, when I was younger, my communication with my parents were kind of just one way, and their way is the only way. You know, if you're living under my roof, then you follow what I say.
Listen.
Right? That was it. And so what it did to me, though, is it made me close off my expression. No, not just in the house, but with everyone, even when I went to school, right? So people wouldn't hear my opinions. I wasn't transparent in other relationships and friendships. And I realized that it all started with that household, right? This is how my life was for, a long period of time. And so I became accustomed to it. Like Rocky was saying, you get used to
become timid in some way.
Exactly. And so that's kind of been my experience, and I've seen it affect me in communicating with other individuals outside of, my house. I've seen it, even with my siblings, if I can be honest. My two younger siblings, they're really shy in public and they're timid and they don't speak out. And my parents will always have this frustration, like, why are you guys so quiet, but at home you're so loud? And the whole time you're telling them to be quiet, or their views or opinions don't matter. And they take that with them. They go to school, they go out into the world, and they live that life. So that's kind of been my experience.
Thank you for sharing, and that touches my heart so much, because just imagine the same parents that are saying you can talk back and you can respond to the situation. I'm talking about your career. You have to be a medical doctor or nothing. That's the same parents are telling you that. How come you are too timid? How come you can't stand up against your friends? When you go out, why are you so shy? What is wrong with you? Isn't that very contradictory? And I think that's an area that really confuses a lot of immigrant kids, where parents are not giving us the foundation and the training. Yet they expect product, they expect output, they expect something to come out magically from a training that you never received. And so, again, I think I want us to hone down a little bit on the same conversation. How has it affected you? And I think Caleb expressed, the fact that going outside, being timid and all of that. Is there any other thing that we wanted to add to it in terms of this culture of silence? You can talk back, don't respond to me, affecting you in a way.
I feel like it affects us both negatively and positively. I feel like because we are growing up in this system, this culture, it helps us relate to our kids better. We know what our parents did to us, and we know like how it made us feel. So we know what not to do to the young ones. So I feel like it affects us positively.
Rocky is thinking already about his children already. That's responsibility. I like that. I need to find a wife for you. Yeah. So I think it's more of lessons learned. Yeah. And one thing I think we also have to pay attention is making sure not to repeat the trend that we are seeing. Because sometimes if you see something for a long time, it affects you, it shapes your thinking. Yeah. And so as we are having this conversation, let's make sure we are not repeating, even though we've lived it. Let's make sure we are not repeating it, because we are telling our parents to do better in terms of communicating with us. And I'm hoping that we also come out as amazing, great parents that will communicate effectively with our children. Another thing I want us to touch on, which is very hilarious, is on the immigrant home. You can talk back, even if whatever your parents are asking you to do is inconveniencing. So you're doing your homework in your room, right? Mommy yells out your name. Eunice! Didn't you hear me calling you? Eunice! Mommy, I'm coming down. And then as you're descending down the stairs, Mommy tells you, can you come downstairs and pick the remote for me? Who has experienced that before? Maybe growing up, maybe teen. And what was going through your mind? Here you can voice out. You can express yourself. What were you thinking when Mommy or Daddy did that?
This is just shaking her head. I never understood it. Yeah. I never understood the reasoning for it, because for me, I feel like there has to be a purpose for why you're calling me. But it's like, because I am their child, they feel that this is something that they can do, even about explaining to me the reason. And so it's like, you living under their house, at every beck and call, every need, you're there for them, whether or not you have something else to do. I never completely understood it, but I guess it is what it is.
Do you understand it now?
I still see them do it to my younger sister. I don't understand it. I don't.
Do you all understand it? Does anyone understand?
I still don't understand it. I see my dad. He's gotten better with it, though. My mom, on the other hand, she does not care whatsoever. I could be taking a test, even since the pandemic started, and you'll be doing homework or you'll be in class, and you're not muted, and she's calling your name, and I don't understand why.
Very embarrassing.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, so I know, sometimes it helps to understand why our parents do this. Maybe different parents will have different reasons, but through our research, one thing we realize is that, parents feel entitled. I think Eunice kind of hinted on that. And they don't see it as abuse in some way, whereby the remote is like sitting next to you and you can stretch your hand and get it. But the fact that they will call you down, it makes them feel as if I've given birth to a child, and they're taking care of me, or they're doing something for me. It brings fulfillment. Talking to parents, it's something that we brought up to them, and the fact that it doesn't make sense to the younger generation. So the point was that we feel like it feels good to know that you have a child, and if you need something, they will pick it up for you. It still doesn't even make sense, but that's the reasoning. It's not because they don't respect their children or anything like that, but they just want to feel like they're the people in charge. And we are educating parents. I know that maybe you're upstairs, Mommy is in the living room. Maybe Mommy's knee hurts. They've never even told you that their knee hurts, and they're sitting down and they're in pain. And African parents usually will not tell you all their flaws, all their challenges and all of that. So can you get me a cup of water from the kitchen? And you may not understand. Why is it that in the living room, can't you go to the kitchen? You call me from upstairs. But these are the reasons why we have to have dialogues, right, with our parents, so we understand where they are coming from. But we're going to wrap up shortly. It's getting interesting, but time is running out for us. But before we wrap up, as a young person sitting down, assume that you are sitting in the seat of a parent. because you become parents very soon, maybe 5 years, 2 years, 6 years. Are you scared? Rocky is imagining having kids already, so Rocky's probably going to take the lead. But if you are a parent, how do you plan to communicate with your kids? And mind you, no matter what generation you find yourself, I'm a mom, I'm a parent. And I try to, Americanize and all of that. But as a parent, you don't want your kids to challenge your authority. So have that at the back of your mind. How would you approach talking to your kids? And be objective. Think of yourself as a parent who wants to exercise that parental authority, not for the sake of exercising it, but for the child to respect you when it becomes necessary. You all have about 20 seconds to 30 seconds to wrap up.
I feel like the African culture, it helped us because it showed us, it taught us how to respect our parents.
Okay, so it's cool. I love you.
It taught us how to show respect to our parents. So I think we could take some gems out of our parents' books, but we should just look at the things like in terms of communication. I feel like that's a big factor in as to why stuff are the way it is now: education and communication. So I feel like since we're all growing up here, we have that knowledge. So I think we could just take a couple of things out of our parents' book, well, a lot of things, and just look past the flaws and try to fix the flaws and like talk to our kids more, but just implement that respect and godliness.
I like that. Before the next person speaks, do you guys think sometimes we all get too negative when probably we are dialoguing with our parents or talking to them? And maybe that is why some parents may not be too forthcoming. Because you realize that it's more of problem solving. You talk to them when there's an issue, right? But maybe when they are sitting down, you probably will not go to them and say, oh, you know what? I like this about you. I like that about you. So I really like Rocky's perspective of what are the good aspects of the African culture that we can hone down on and probably forget about the others. And I mean, I'm talking to everyone that is listening in, that sometimes we may get too negative as young people, and nobody wants to hear about the negatives. You are bad, you are this, you are mean, don't call me down to get you this and that and that. But what is good? What do our parents do that we like? I don't think we would say we don't like anything about our parents. We love our parents. So I really like that perspective. Any other person?
I would definitely agree with Rocky. I think just that like experience, it helps like African children bond together because they're like, your parent does that too? Oh, mine does that too. And it's also like that respect. Not only do I respect my parents, but I respect older people outside of my home. But then again, I feel like the frustration, the negativity comes from the frustration of not really talking about, like, why is this happening? But for me, I would say that, so as a communications major, I study family communication. That's one of the topics we talk about. And there's two different families, laissez-faire families, where it's all about the business. Like, don't talk about what you feel, what you think. But there's an open family where it's like more communication, more dialogue. And I think that I always think about the future, but even having this conversation is like, what can I do now? I don't have a family right now. Like, I don't have children. I don't have a husband. But what can I do now as a child right now to, if my mom doesn't communicate with me, how do I communicate with her? It's not always about them, but it can also be about us too.
I like that. I like that a lot. And as young people, sometimes we look up to our parents to do the job or to be the initiators. And if they don't do it, then we're dead. I know some parents, I was talking to one person, he said, I initiated, I love you, saying I love you to my mom, and she asked me why. Sometimes it can get frustrating because some parents can push you away, not intentionally, but they're just uncomfortable. But that doesn't deter us from taking the initiative. So, Dahlia, thank you so much for that. That in as much as we want that responsibility to fall on our parents, we also, or God requires us to also play our part as young people to initiate these uncomfortable conversations in the immigrant home. So our parents will meet us in the middle way. Do I have everyone? Everyone had a chance? Okay, just go.
All right. So if I were a parent, I'd let my son or daughter know that I'm not perfect,
Right.
and I believe the point of having children is they are supposed to make you better, a better communicator, a better dad, mom, whatever it might be. So letting them know up front, like there are going to be times where I definitely mess up, whenever we're talking. There will
Right.
be times where I'll get heated and you'll get heated too, and
Right.
things like that will happen. But everything that I'm doing or I'm saying is out of love, and I've realized that about my parents. They yell a lot, but I know it's all out of love. I don't get frustrated as much as I used to.
I like that.
I know my younger siblings, my parents will yell at them, and they'll come upstairs all like that, all mad. And I'm like, what happened? Oh, mom said this and that. Oh, like, come into my room. Let's talk.
We have
I've
a big
been
brother.
through this, so I know why they do what they do, and I want
Right.
to explain to you like this is how mom and dad are. But they're doing it out of love. So if I was a parent, I take the time to really let my child know that.
Wow. I think we have to do another episode and call it In the African Home, Yelling is Loving. Eunice, I'll give you a chance to.
Yeah, so I know the past, I guess this season of my life, I thought about my parents a lot. And I realized that, they did a lot of things right. They may have done some things I didn't agree with, but they did a lot of things right. And I know that at the end of the day, they love me, my sisters. It's just that they have a unique way of showing it.
Love it.
And I've had to come to understand that, even like them telling that they love us. I mean, I'll give credit to my dad. My dad has been able to tell us that he loves us.
That's beautiful.
But my mom, she tells us that she loves us through food.
She's trying.
So she'll say that, oh, are you hungry? So what can I make you? What do you want to eat? So that's her way of telling us that she loves us. And so I just had to just analyze them and think about how they behave. One thing that I would like to do as a parent when I have kids one day is bring communication into the house and create that environment where you feel safe, and that if you put your opinion to the table, you won't be like, I don't know, what's it called? Put away to the side because you tried to express yourself. So I hope to do that, but I think that unconsciously a lot of the things my parents taught me, I have to unlearn it along the way, because I don't know if I'm going to get there and I'm going to be this perfect parent. I don't think I am. So it's going to be a journey, and that's where I am right now.
I think you're going to be a fabulous mom because, awareness is the first stage in learning. So now that you know you have to unlearn, you have a long way ahead of you to do that. So thank you so much for that, being honest in that regard. But, it's getting exciting, interesting, but we have to come to an end of another amazing episode. Thank you so much once again, our guest, for joining us for another edition of the Two Worlds at War, or the Tour Show. And to our viewers, I hope to catch you once again on another time, another episode on the Tour Show. Stay safe, be blessed, and see you soon.